Okay, so let's go ahead and make our first map. Please remember that you need to be logged into arcgis.com. Once you're logged in, you're going to click on your map tab. Now that we are here, we will be making a new map. Since I am already logged in, I don't have to click on modify map or anything. I'm going to click on add, and I will search for some layers online. I cannot search in my content. Instead, I would like to see if ArcGIS Online has some layers for COVID-19 in Maryland. I'm going to type in COVID Maryland. Look at that. It looks like this layer is being used for the dashboard that we see posted every day at 10 a.m. Let's go ahead and add this layer, and it looks like it was updated just yesterday, so this layer is the most recent information as of right now. Let's go ahead and add that. As soon as we add it, we see that we zoom into the layer. I'm already seeing some trouble with this layer. Clearly there are some counties that are see-through, yet they have the most cases, so we definitely need to make adjustments to this layer. In addition to this layer, let's also just display some hospitals in Maryland. So I will search for one more that says Hospitals Maryland. Well, let's go ahead and add the first one. Yeah, I think that will work. Let's go ahead and add the first layer. The reason why we want to have hospitals displayed at the same time is we want to have some information about the care available to people who might get sick. Oh, it looks like I added the wrong layer. Let me remove that one. I could tell that not enough hospitals were added on here. I was supposed to go all the way to the back and then click add to that layer. I like that this layer is already styled with the hospital sign. We are going to keep it this way. Perfect. Let's go to our content and see what we have. Currently we have two layers. One is a polygon style layer and the other one is a point style layer that represents the hospitals. Let's make sure that we rename those layers. Let's just say Maryland COVID-19 cases. Data. And for the other one, I think we can make it look a little bit simpler. Let's just say Maryland hospitals. I think that's good enough. It is important that we simplify the names of our layers so that they're easy to understand by anyone who sees our map. Next, I would like to change these cases. I need to figure out what is going on so that a few of the counties are not even displaying. I'm going to turn off my hospitals layer so that it is easier for me to work with this. I'm going to change the style by clicking on the third button over. There are several attributes that I could show. I am indeed interested in the cases. Currently, or at least from what I saw, the deaths and recovered data was not filled very nicely. So we are going to just display cases. In doing so, we will be changing some options. The counts and amounts is a perfect way to display this information. So I'm going to click on options. Oh, I see the problem. Do you see how the cases are going only from 0 to 107? There's no reason for that when we have a lot of counties with cases more than 107. So we need to change that division on here. You can go up to, I don't know, even 1,000 if you need to. Now when you do that, unfortunately, everything higher than 63 cases is showing up in the same color. That is not really a classification that would make sense. There's no need for that classification. So we are going to reset that, okay? I'm going to remove the classified data check mark, and that resets it back to normal. I do, however, want to classify it, so when I turn the check mark back on, it is going to put some better marks. The natural breaks is a really good model of classifying data, essentially it looks at the data and it decides where are the perfect places for this data to be split into the 5 classes that we have set. I could also split into 7 different classes if I want to. I do not recommend using any more than 7. It is very difficult to distinguish between those colors at this point. You can see that the cases are now split here in the legend. I think I'm going to bump it back down to 6. You're welcome to use anything between 5 and 7 classes for this setting. I do not necessarily care for the blue colors. I would like to change those colors. So I am going to click on symbols and change the colors. I have already previewed some of them. I do kind of like this color. I also want to have a little bit of transparency added to it. Note that when you have the transparency and you can see through, it also makes the colors much lighter. So I'm going to go down to like 25% maybe transparency. When you select OK, the map is going to change its display. We are done changing the symbology. I really like that the cases are displayed in an easy way for us to read. Let's see, what does the pop-up look like? Oh, there's so much information on here. Do we really want to see all this information? If the answer is no, then we need to adjust the pop-up to make it easier for everybody else to read. So we are going to click on the 3 ellipses at the end for more options. And let's go ahead and configure the pop-up. Currently, the pop-up is shown. We won that. The title is going to automatically populate the name of the county. Anything in those curly brackets means that it will be populated from our attribute table. I think to display a list of field attributes is totally okay in this case. We just want to limit all of these. We don't really care for all of this information. So we're going to configure the attributes. Click on Configure Attributes. You can select the check mark under Display to select all, and then click on it one more time to deselect everything. The name of the county is already in our title, so we don't need to select it again. And then scroll down. Let's just select the COVID-19 cases, deaths, and number of recovered people. And go ahead and select OK. I'm going to leave it at that. Now let's see our pop-up. Is it easier to understand? Look at that. Much easier to read that information. In terms of the label itself, I do encourage you to select those labels. Click on the More options and then Manage Labels. Whoops, as soon as I selected that, the size of my labels went down to 5. I don't really know what is the reason for it. Feel free to play around with your labels and make the size to something that you like. You can change the color if you would rather have it in a different color. You could also add things like halo around. Halo adds white color or any other color around your current text, which might make it easier to read and to stand out against the background. You can also change the visibility of those labels. There is no need for the visibility of the labels from so far away, so I'm definitely going to change that visibility a little bit. Okay, now when I zoom out to this level, it does not display the labels and it does not overcrowd my map. One more thing that we are going to adjust on here. Let's go ahead and turn the hospitals back on and see what do we have for hospitals. It looks like this information might be useful, so we would go ahead and keep that information. I would like for you to please change the base map, change it to something that you like. If you find that the streets are important for people to have that as information, keep them on. If you would much rather like to focus on your data, then select one of the light gray or dark gray base maps and then make those changes. If you're concerned with the hospitals overcrowding some areas, I wouldn't. It is normal that the metropolis or the highly occupied areas are going to have more hospitals. You do have the option of playing around a little bit and limiting the type of hospitals. I noticed that there are hospitals that are not necessarily for general care. When you open up your attribute table and you scroll all the way to the right, you can see what type of hospitals you have. You might not need to list psychiatric hospitals, special hospitals, things like that. You might want to just limit your information to acute, general, and special hospitals. If that is the case, when you select your hospitals, you are going to click on the filter button and you're going to select that the type of hospital is, you do not want to type this in case of a typo. Instead, as soon as you click on unique, it is going to self-populate the possible types of hospitals that we have. And then we can just click on acute, general, and special hospitals. Apply the filter, and it is going to limit some of those hospitals. Now there are only 48 hospitals displayed. Okay, that limits some of the hospitals that were shown. We can easily see that there are areas with very few hospitals availability. The good thing at this point, through our map, we can see that the counties with less cases also have, are the counties that have less hospital care. So I guess this is good news from this map. If the hospitals, you decide make things overcrowded, please make sure that you make these symbols much smaller, or you display them only when you zoom into the county level. I would like for you to play around with this map, style it in a way that you like, and then turn it in. I am going to share your finished maps with the class first thing next week. Play around with it and have fun. I will talk to you guys soon.